friendly players in the Pokemon trading card game that I've ever known.
Absolutely, just two of the nicest guys too. I'm really glad we got to feature both of these guys, especially because of Yoshi's deck. You guys are going to see some pretty interesting things going on.
Oh yes, so we're opening up with a Hypnotoxic Laser. Tails there, but it does apply the poison. Now I'm wondering, yeah, all of a sudden we're seeing some strange stuff. That's a Druddigon there on the bench. You don't see him too often anymore.
Yeah, Druddigon with that revenge attack. Just if your opponent knocks out a Pokemon of yours, you can do some extra damage with it. Not really something you ever see, but like we said before, Yoshi's known for running some interesting stuff, so
Now,
definitely not outside of his wheelhouse.
Yoshi seems like he actually had a not the most powerful hand. He didn't play an opening support or anything. He actually does run outs where he could have potentially knocked out that Unknown on the first turn if he found all the pieces. He was far from it, but he does run that Latios EX, which can attack on the first turn.
Yeah, I heard through the grapevine that he got Igor Costa last round, 2012 World Champion. Igor Costa starts with a Zubat. Yoshi confidently drops a Latios EX and fast raids for the knockout.
Fast raid. Now, some players have ran that in its own sort of gimmick win on the first turn deck, but Yehoshua, he likes to think outside of the box. He's just got it in his deck like, hey, you know what? What if I could sometimes win on the first turn? Is it worth splashing in here? Why not? So you see his energy counts are like 4 double colorless, 2 double dragon, 2 psychic energy? Okay, all right. That's just such a Yoshi play. I've never seen him run a conventional deck.
It's an interesting play, too. I mean, it has its place after, Jimmy's victory last week with this deck, which was running a lot of low HP Pokemon. You have decks like Night March that are running low HP Pokemon, so definitely an interesting twist that I would imagine has done him pretty well. Zubat is everywhere, as like we mentioned before, so definitely helping him out here.
Yeah, unfortunately not able to show that off, or any supporters at all to draw. I guess when you're running enough pieces, your deck can maybe lose some of its consistency. We'll see where he goes from there. On Jimmy's end, he's actually got a healthy amount of bench Pokemon. 2 Combi, 2 Eevee, and a Shaman to draw up from a full empty hand on that ability.
With the setup ability there, drawing 6 fresh cards after dropping 2 Eevee and 2 Combi, so pretty ideal setup for Jimmy here.
Yeah, he's got double colorless ready to go. He has plenty of evolution in hand. And while Unknown maybe isn't the best Pokemon to lead off with, it's sort of just there to absorb damage and probably get knocked out over time. It's at least not the end of the world. He's got plenty of other attackers ready to build up.
It looks like Yoshi did draw an Ultra Ball for the turn, so he can find a Shaman EX. Discarding 2 cards, find a Shaman, draw a bunch of cards, and hopefully get back into this game. He's also going to have a Quaking Punch.
So he did have to lose one of his double colorless energy just to retreat to Dene, just to pull up his Seismitoad, and actually plays for his supporter on the turn a Xerosic, immediately discarding the special energy onto that Combi, and that's going to be big. If Jimmy can set up one of these Vespiquen, it's going to be a world of hurt for Seismitoad.
Absolutely. We saw he took the Xerosic line just to kind of knock the energy off, set Jimmy back a turn, and Jimmy's certainly, still in the game. Yoshi's hand is still pretty lackluster, but with the Quaking Punch lock on, it's going to be pretty hard for Jimmy to get back into this, and he's going to need to draw some energy this turn and hopefully some evolutions as well.
And right off the bat, we're seeing one of the downsides to having that Druddigon down on the bench. It's got a pretty heavy retreat cost. It doesn't really do much damage unless you're using it for that revenge cost on the attack. For that 2 energy, once you're following up a knockout, since no knockouts have taken place on Jimmy's side, he can, I guess, attach one of these double energies and retreat again. It's just not something you want to do over the course of the game.
Yeah, you don't want to be losing too many energy. We already saw Yoshi had to discard 1, and either way he's going to have to discard another one here just to fuel that Ultra Ball.
So RIP, Double Dragon energy. Probably going to grab a Shaman, I would imagine, to start setting up here. I'm sure he wants to continue that Quaking Punch lock. He denied Jimmy 1 turn of being able to play items. I saw valuable cards like Battle Compressor sitting in his hand. If he can keep up the Quaking Punch lock, that would be great. If not, it's giving Jimmy a lot of time to sort of find those Vespiquen and start hitting Seismitoad for his grass weakness for a very easy knockout.
Yeah, and there's the Shaman EX, as you predicted. Going to go ahead and draw Yoshi back up to 6 cards. Put him right back into the game, and Hopefully, does he have any way to retreat or switch out in his deck?
I mean, he can attach this double colorless again, which is pretty disastrous. Oh, and he's going to do it. So he's already ran through it. That's his third double colorless energy, second to hit the discard pile. He does get a new fresh 6 cards, though.
And we see he had some options. He drew a Hex Maniac, a Skyla, which is a supporter we hasn't seen too much play lately, but can go ahead and grab any trainer card from his deck.
Yeah, probably something he wishes he had beforehand, because he could have Skyled for a switch, for example, not having to use another one of these double colorless. But we'll see where he goes with this. Dropping down that Burbank City Gym. That has 3 damage counters instead of 1 between turns for poison.
Absolutely. Burbank City Gym, one of the backbones of the expanded format. I'm sure a lot of players are glad that it's rotated from standard, but still live and expanded, still causing a lot of damage in between turns.
Oh yes, the lasers are alive and real. Very real in both the dark base decks and, oh my goodness, what is that ace spec? Yoshi, you've done it again. That is a rock guard. So many cards. Every time I see him with his deck, I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. When's the last time you saw Rock Guard drop down?
Couldn't tell you.
So that is an ace spec. Rock Guard has a neat little retaliation effect. If you attack and damage a Pokemon with Rock Guard, you actually get 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So an interesting choice to sort of do that for retaliation versus doing the guaranteed extra 20 damage from a card like Muscle Band that the usual Seismitoad EX deck runs.
Yeah, and playing Rock Guard, as you can see, Rock Guard is an ace spec, so it comes at a real cost. You're not playing Computer Search, you're not playing Dowsing Machine, you're going full-on with this retaliation effect.
Ooh, and tough break for Jimmy. It looks like he flipped Tails for sleep on this Shaman EX, but he's got an AZ to pick it up. I think that's the only way he can move that in his entire deck when under item lock.
Yeah, perfect card to draw there. You know, can't play Switch, can't play Escape Rope, anything like that.
And so we see Unknown hit the discard pile to draw a card. Sort of a constant cycle, but he's drawing another item. If he can't set up, he's not going to be able to get easy knockouts, which is sort of the pride of the deck. He can't accelerate energy. He has no energy in hand. I don't think he has any draw supporter. So while he's under this Quaking Punch lock, it seems like it's going to keep him pretty slow. Oh, just kidding. There's a Juniper right at the end of there.
Yeah, he had to discard, it looked like, some Combees, and obviously some of the item cards from earlier that he's been drawing, but still seven new cards is 7 new cards, especially when a lot of these item cards you're probably not going to be able to play throughout the game.
It looks like he actually last minute changed his mind. I think Yehoshua just let it pass. Like, okay, that's fine. You don't want to play it. I'm cool with that. Typically
he had played the AZ.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry, yeah,
he opened the game with us. He could not play it. You're right. He played it, quickly, like it was one of those item cards and pick up your hand like Super Scuba. But that is your supporter for the turn. So there's pros and cons to a card like AZ. But honestly, I feel like he played it in the best possible situation that he could.
Yeah, he just had to get that Shaman out of the active position. You know, you never want to give up 2 easy prizes like that and then open up access for Yoshi to start knocking out your attackers.
So Yoshi's in kind of a strange situation here. He doesn't have much draw for himself. He can grab maybe some off of this Versus Seeker, but he actually opts to grab a Skyla. Curious to see what item card he'll take from his deck, or trainer card in general.
Yeah, he could, if he just wants to draw cards, he can take an Ultra Ball and discard his hand to get a Shaman. He can take... It looks like he's going to decide to take the Ultra Ball and just discard his hand of Seismitoad and Hex Maniac.
So he does lose those. Hex Maniac could be coming back off of a Versus Seeker, but for now, we have Shaman pulling in a full fresh hand of 6 cards. And you can already see sort of the impact that Shaman EX has on this format. Both these players have been using it for great effect. Just being able to draw cards while also not using your supporter is great. Or you can even go the other way. You can use your supporter, Skyla, to find an option to find Shaman and draw cards that way.
Absolutely. Shaman EX, just such a powerful card, very reminiscent of the old Yuxi from Legends Awaken that would set up for 7, was not an EX, and just every time a card like that is released, it's going to be powerful. Just getting to draw cards off a Pokemon ability rather than a supporter is just incredibly good.
Yeah, if you're new to the Pokemon trading card game, one of the #1 tips I could say is if there's a Pokemon with a non-attack that can draw cards, so usually, like an ability, or in the old cards it was a Pokemon power, it's probably going to be worth looking at and probably playable.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, Pokemon are searchable, so we saw that Skyla basically turned into a draw 6 for Yoshi, getting that Ultra Ball.
Ooh, Jimmy dropping a fun little card. So he actually got Tails again on the sleep condition. Opts to use Audino to discard from his hand. Interesting thing about Audino is you remove 1 damage counter from your Pokemon and 1 special condition. So he opted not to get rid of the sleep, but got rid of the poison so that this Shaman will probably survive another turn, forcing Yoshi to have another Hypnotoxic Laser.
Farewell letter on that unknown, just placing onto your bench, placing your discard pile, and draw a card.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. It has such perfect synergy with the rest of the deck. When you're playing a deck where your main attacks deal more damage, depending on how many Pokemon you have in the discard pile, why not discard and draw a card? Or cards like Audino, why not discard and get a little bit of heal in it? So you see, flips Tails on the sleep still. Tough luck on these rolls for Jimmy. Also just tough luck, he still hasn't found a single Vespiquen, and I haven't seen a double colorless energy to replace the one that he lost from the Xerasic all the way back in like that second turn.
No, yes, he's had, I saw a Trainer's Mail in his hand. He had Battle Compressors, but you can't play those through the Quaking Punch. Just goes to show you the power of Seismitoad EX.
That card will always be good. It's just such an incredibly powerful effect, and for just the cheap cost of 1 double colorless energy, it's so good. And oh boy, we're going to see a fun little interaction here. Flareon is actually water weak, so this Quaking Punch will deal extra damage. That said, we are seeing one of the weaknesses of Yoshi's option to choose the Rock Guard versus Muscle Band. If he had Muscle Band, he'd be knocking out Flareon completely for 50 times 2.
It's also an interesting play by Yoshi to use that Lysander there. I think he may have wanted to just keep the Shaman in the active position and knock it out and take 2 prizes, but
oh wow,
looks like Jimmy doesn't have a whole lot going on.
Was that just a straight draw pass?
Absolutely.
Oh man, his hand just must be full of items. It looks like it's full of items, and then he has a Shaman that can't draw anything because he can't drop his hand size down. And when you run these decks that run very high item counts, you can see how quickly it can fall apart if you start getting hit by Quaking Punch.
The one option that Jimmy does have now is if he has an energy in his hand, he can promote that Shaman and use Sky Return, which will do some damage, but more importantly, return Shaman to his hand, allowing him to drop it on the bench, use setup, and draw some more cards, acting as sort of a pseudo-supporter.
Yeah, it's rough. The problem is, look at how crammed his hand is. He can't play the Shaman that he already does have, and so instead, opting for an N, this could help him out, shuffling in for some new cards. He gets 6 because he has 6 remaining prize cards, while Yoshi only gets, I believe it's 4.
Yeah, and just one of the most powerful cards in the game. And we can see it's going to draw Jimmy 6 cards, can get him right back into the game. Definitely ends led to a lot of probably equal parts celebration and frustration, depending on what side of it you're on.
Are we finally going to see one Vespiquen? I still haven't seen a single one this game. And is there even an energy in that hand? It almost just looks like he drew the same cards he had before. Discarding, farewell letter, here's another draw, another Shaman. EV down. Oh man, this is a very unappealing hand. Shaman to draw. Was that just one?
Just a single card, it looks like.
Oh boy, these are not what Jimmy needs. Some of the worst hands I've seen in a long while. And there's nothing he can do. He can't even do the Sky Return. He didn't get the second energy. No Vespiquen. Where are all those pieces? He runs so many of them.
Just goes to show you how item reliant a lot of these decks are. You know, when items are cut off from the first turn in the game, it can be really hard to keep up. And there's a Colorist going for the full 10.
Diaz, and that is definitely actually a lot better than what Yoshi had before, which is pretty interesting. Considering he got end to 4, typically you'd think you give your opponent maybe a bit worse of a hand. But he actually wasn't working on a ton, so here we go.
And new cards.
So off these, you have things like Hypnotoxic Laser, which could give you that extra damage. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that would work. That would knock out the Shaman. Hypnotoxic Laser would do it. And actually, I think that's the only way he can get a knockout on a Shaman this turn. And he found it.
There's the Hypnotoxic Laser. That's going to be huge. It's going to keep the Quaking Punch lock on. Jimmy no longer has that out of Sky returning the Shaman back to his hand. And, of course, Yoshi gets to take 2 prizes.
Right. So he's, just going to work with just 2 prizes for the rest of the game. Jimmy still hasn't taken a single one. It really is crazy to me because this deck normally destroys Seismitoad. You just get an easy Vespiquen up, and you get 1-hit knockouts. It's very possible Jimmy could get one finally now, but his hand has been so bad. It's really rough. I think the only thing he can do is promote a Combi, play that Juniper, and the odds have to be in his favor to find both a double colorless energy and a Vespiquen off this Juniper. Oh no, he's just going to go and Lysander up to Dene. Hoping, maybe Yoshi doesn't have energies to attach and retreat and I can run him out this way. Plays his own Shaman to draw, I think, just 1 again.
It's 1 card. Hits a Flareon, and I think it's going to have to pass.
Oh boy, that is rough. Let's see. Yoshi, I don't think he can get the game. He doesn't have any extremely powerful attacks here. Although, I do see a double Dragon energy down on the Dredagon. So maybe he can work something out there. Let's see. We got to switch. Switch out. Nope. Seismitoad back up. Yeah, can't argue with the lock there.
Yeah, when you're so close to winning the game, as Yoshi is, I think it's just really important to keep that lock going and make sure that Jimmy can't find a way out of this.
Yeah, we've seen how powerful Quaking Punch has been. It's funny. Yoshi runs such a wide variety of attackers, you can see here. But it turns out, even when you have a lot of variety, yeah, Quaking Punch pretty good. Jimmy sees the writing on the wall, figures, hey, if I want to win this series, I'm probably going to need to play a brand new game so that I can even see the third one. First game going to Yehoshua Tate.
Yeah, absolutely. Time's certainly a concern. We've seen a few matches go to a draw in this tournament, and that's something Jimmy really wants to avoid. Just really hoping to, as you saw, he wasn't going to lose the game that turn, maybe even the next turn, but he just decided to have some more time for Game 2 and hopefully Game 3.
Yeah, and, maybe if he found a single Vespiquen double colorless energy combo, he could turn it around. Yoshi didn't have any backup Seismitoad ready to go. He had things like the Revenge Attacker that could push him up a little bit, but wasn't even 100% sure if he could continue that Seismitoad lock. He had to use a lot of his double colorless energy as discard fodder for retreat early in the game. So it's wild to see just a single Seismitoad EX Quaking Punch all the way through. Not a single one was knocked out.
Yeah, we were a little bit scared. Like you said, we thought Yoshi was using up a lot of his energy resources there, which he was. If that game had gone a little bit differently, like you said, the resources were getting pretty low on Yoshi's side, but that's the power of Seismitoad, and that's the power of these item-reliant decks.
So as we're pushing into Game 2, both players are shuffling and starting to get ready to set up. One of the things that Jimmy is definitely going to want is as many items that he can use as possible on turn 1. That's your way to get around some of these lock-based decks, is if you can go through, find your battle compressors right away, find your Ultra Balls right away, get them out of your deck. I've even used Battle Compressor to compress away other item cards because they're going to be useless over the rest of the game.
Absolutely.
So if you can get more item cards and certainly more draw early in, we should see a different side of this matchup. Both players are ready for Game 2, so we're going to hop in.
Like a Seismitoad start for Yoshi and a Shaman EX start for Jimmy. Definitely not your ideal starter, but
no, not at all.
Looks like Jimmy has some options to get out some other Pokemon, kind of get things going. Certainly, hopefully get a better setup than last time.
Yeah, at least I think I saw an Ultra Ball, a Level Ball, so he'll be able to get lots of Pokemon down, which he was able to last time. The question is, does he have any Battle Compressors? I feel like that's one of the most crucial cards on your turn 1 before Seismitoad comes rumbling in.
Absolutely. Battle Compressor, and really what you're going to see is Jimmy just using all of the items that he possibly can here. He's going to be, even if it's maybe a little bit too aggressive of a play or not exactly the right line, he's going to just use all of his items here, thin his deck out. He knows that Seismitoad Quaking Punch is coming and doesn't want any part of it.
So we are opening the day off with a Battle Compressor in this game, too. I don't think he played a single one last game. They were clogging up his hand quite a bit. But yeah, any item that you can drop, get him out of here. So there's 3 Pokemon hitting the discard. Dropping the Jolteon, not helpful in this matchup. You don't need that lightning type change in your stage 1 Pokemon. And a few Unknown. And that's one of my favorite Pokemon to choose from, just to discard out of the deck. Might as well keep your Pokemon options there, but the Unknown's just there to draw a single card, so I'd like to discard those.
Absolutely.
So we do see drawing a bunch of new cards. We've got Eevee down. Can set up the Combi with the double. If that can survive and turn into a Vespiquen, that's really where the magic of this matchup comes, is abusing the grass weakness on Seismitoad EX. So it really is a bummer when you don't get that to happen. Really shows just how powerful that zero sick that Yoshi played last game was.
Yeah, Jimmy saw one double colorless last game. It was promptly zero sicked off, and that really spelled.
Yeah, he never saw another one.
Yeah, never saw another one. I guess he never even drew another one. Just completely shut him out of the game.
So Jimmy, I think he has a computer search in hand. Again, the name of the game: play your items. Get them out of there. You'll probably never get to play them again. So you can opt. Discarding the fire energy is good. If you have 2 fire energy in the discard pile, that opens up the blacksmith option as an attack in the late game if you run out of double colorless energy. And now, playing his 1 ace spec, he can search his deck for any one single card. He decides to grab himself an AZ. Probably just preparing perhaps for the next turn. You can AZ, get rid of Shaman, or you can even pop it up right back now to play it down for more cards.
Yeah, and Jimmy has an interesting decision here. He can either promote the Shaman EX, which is a little more versatile and has the chance of being Sky returned back, or he could promote the EV, which he might need later in the game and has fewer hit points. He ultimately decides to go with the Shaman.
Neither extremely appealing, but again, we're seeing, look, there's 2 silver bangles that he's been able to get rid of. The more of these item cards that go, the better chance Jimmy has at fighting through the lock.
Absolutely, and there's a VS Seeker, which is this is a play you'll certainly see pretty much only versus Seismitoad decks. Is I'll play a VS Seeker, get a supporter that I can't play this turn.
Yeah, you'd almost never do that otherwise, but if you know that VS Seeker's about the usual suspects on Yoshi's side of the field, Fairbank City, but ooh, a nasty Juniper. That hand was like just supporters. We saw something similar earlier today. It is a huge bummer when you open your game like that. And I don't know if I see a double colorless. Oh, no, I do.
Yeah,
it's
there we
there.
go. It was hidden, but
there's
it's
not
there.
much else in there, but there is a double colorless, and that is one of the most important cards in the entire deck. Just being able to Quaking Punch on your first turn that you can attack.
And there's that Latios EX we talked about a little bit earlier.
It can deal 40 damage for a Psychic Energy. It really is sort of just there as a little play around turn 1 just to win a quick game. And it is actually kind of nice. Some games, you push to game 3 and you think, okay, well, this is going to be a draw. Nobody's going to finish on time. You can surprise them with a Latios raid and end someone's hopes and dreams. So perhaps if Jimmy does win, we can see that from Yehoshua. We'll see.
And, Latios does have a little bit of effectiveness in this matchup. It can knock out unknowns due to weakness. It can knock out Combi. So certainly, not one of the main attackers, not something that Yoshi's really looking to use outside of turn 1, but does have a place.
So we see a new Juniper on Jimmy's hand. He's got plenty of cards to work with. I don't know if I see new energy. Did he at least get a Vespiquen? Are we going to see one Vespiquen this game? I think we just see a Sky return. Bouncing Shaman back up into his hand, reclaiming the double colorless. No evolutions on that whole turn.
Yeah, just a Sky return. I assume Jimmy's sitting with a hand chock full of item cards. We're going to see a double dragon on that Latios for Yoshi.
Hey, Latios has some real attacks there, and it looks like that's finally an option for him as well, if he needs to deal more damage toward the end of the game. Speaking of more damage, he actually does still run the Muscle Band, so he can do the traditional 50 damage Quaking Punch if he doesn't want to get fancy with the Rock Guard.
Which could be really interesting here, a Quaking Punch with a Hypnotoxic Laser and the Muscle Band that he has in his hand can do 80 damage to Shaman, which, if Shaman stays asleep,
oh boy,
if he can't leave that active position...
He got the sleep flip. I'm sure Jimmy can't believe it. He's had terrible luck. I swear, the way he's running, he's going to flip tails in his sleep.
Yeah, and
I don't want that to happen for him. I want to see the best games, but it just seems to be the trend. Let's see.
Here we go.
So there's the damage plus the poison, and that actually
80.
does put Shaman at a very poor number. If it stays asleep, did it? No, it's awake.
All right.
So he finally catches a break, and it's nice. If it does stay asleep, it actually gets knocked out coming into Yehoshua's turn because of poison, which is terrible. But now he can get it out of the way with something like a Sky Return, or even just retreat it if it's time to attack. Yeah, he's got another one of those hands that looks terrible, full of supporters and items and no evolution cards. He might just have to burn his hand down, give up on the resources, and draw big with something like a Juniper.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to happen. I'm just seeing a bunch of energy, supporters, and items. Which
just drops a
man,
block.
Look how thick that hand is.
That's like 10 cards almost. But, you got to dig deeper. How about a Vespiquen? Can we see one Vespiquen in this game? There it is.
There we go.
He does run it.
The called shot.
So the question is, does he have enough damage, actually, to get this one-hit knockout? I think he might. He has discarded a few Pokemon in the opening game, and he also does have the Silver Bangle. There we go. Bee Revenge, pulling up a one-hit knockout, abusing Seismitoad's grass weakness. It only took 2.5 games, or 1.5 games for us to get there, but we finally found it.
Absolutely. Now, Jimmy's in a much better position. It doesn't look like Yoshi's going to be able to continue the Seismitoad lock. Doesn't look like he has much of anything in his hand.
No.
Attaches that Rock Guard, that Double Dragon. Is going to get the knockout.
Wow, there's a rare one. A light pulse for knockout from Latios EX.
Oh, and actually protects itself, too.
Yeah, from effective attacks, right?
Yeah, not damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know how much that's going to save him. If Jimmy can dig deep enough, the lock is done. He can actually get a one-shot and win a really quick game, too, here.
Yeah, just needs to deal 170, which is a lot, but, this is kind of what the Vespiquen deck is built to do, is knock out big EXs.
Yeah, he has a full turn of items to do it now, too, so I'm sure he's got plenty of options, different ways to discard more Pokemon into his pile. Not 100% sure how many he does have, but he did at least need enough to do 90 to do the ×2 to knock out Seismitoad EX with the Vespiquen. So we'll see. He actually opts to play a Vespiquen down. He does have Silver Bangle as well, which is going to help him deal 30 extra damage to Pokemon EX.
Absolutely. So we could see the game end here, going to a Game 3, but it'll depend on what he draws. He's going to Versus Seeker for a Juniper.
Juniper dumping. There's more Pokemon in there. He does still need the double, so let's see if he finds that. With double color, I think he might have it. Double colorless energy. Going to do a count of the Pokemon in the discard pile now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 14. I think that would be enough. Yeah, 14. +2, +3 from the Silver Bangle. That should do it.
Yep, and there's the knockout. Jimmy O'Brien taking Game 2, forcing a Game 3 in this match.
Kaboom. And that's why I thought it was so strange in that first match. I know Yehoshua had the Quaking Punch lock. He had it running. But all you need is a single Vespiquen and a double, and you can really just take an entire Seismitoad down. You get to do twice the damage because of weakness, and that is a huge deal. In the early game, you maybe won't have enough Pokemon discarded where you're dealing a full 170 or 180, especially when under the item lock. But it's a lot more lenient when all you have to deal is 90 damage. You just need 7 Pokemon in your discard pile to do that ×2 knockout.
And I think that last game, even Game 1 a little bit, even though Yoshi came out on top, but especially this last game, really showcases what the cost of running all these special cards is, right? What the cost of running Dredagon, Latios, things you don't really see all the time, rather than just running like the full 4 Seismitoad, the full line of Crobat, and just kind of making your deck more consistent. We're seeing a lot of weird hands. We're seeing a lot of supporterless turns, or at least draw supporterless turns from Yoshi. So, it's interesting. It's fun. He's doing really well with it, but there is a real cost to deciding to play like this.
Yeah, there is. I think one of the things I know he really loves to do is play a deck that has a chance against everything. And in doing that, he tries to run a tech card to help him in almost every situation. But there are many matchups where your tech cards just aren't as good in one match as they would be in another. So you have cards, like the Latios EX with 2 double dragon energy on it. I'm not sure if that's as powerful as something like the popular Giratina EX. Imagine a Giratina with 2 double dragon on it. All of a sudden he's preventing any special energy that Jimmy can attach. And that's, I feel like, a much bigger hurt. He does run 1 copy of the Giratina, but it isn't quite as powerful of a straight disruption-based focused deck as you see in some of the other Seismitoad lists out there.
Absolutely. So he's basically just sacrificing a little bit of consistency for a little bit of more well-roundedness, which...
And a little bit of style. Have you ever seen 2 double dragon energies in a Latios EX and a Rock Guard? I think not.
In fairness, Light Pulse does do more damage than Giratina.
Oh, you're right. By 10. So there is that. No, definitely the swaggest option. And we're actually ready. We're starting up Game 3.
Yes, it looks like Jimmy's going to go ahead and start with a Combee and Seismitoad for Yoshi. And we could see it. We could see the Latios knockout here. Combee has 40 hit points.
Ultra Ball. Wait a second. Now he would need Latios Psychic Energy Switch. I just sort of entertained it. I threw it out there when we were in Game 2. I was like, it could happen. If we get to Game 3, you could just shut it down. The thing is, when you're running one copy of that, is it prized is question one. Are your psychic energy prized? You only run 2. I guess you could also attach a double dragon to it. Are your switching cards prized? How many ways he runs what? 1 switch, 1 AZ. It's you're asking for a lot here, but it's a possibility that Yehoshua could win now without Jimmy even getting to draw a card. And I think he knows it too.
The dream is alive. You can see both players smiling, laughing. It's probably what they're discussing. Let's see. Let's see what the shaman gives him.
And I love both these players. I would love to just be in there live to hear their banter. Both players are very, very lighthearted when it comes to playing the game. We are going to open up with a Hypnotoxic Laser, just burning another card. He's going to have to go real deep with this shaman. But if all the pieces are in there, could you believe it? All right.
Here's 5 cards.
Shaman for 5. Let's see if you can find any of those pieces. Juniper can maybe help, but he still needs something like I haven't seen a single energy option for Latios switch. I'm not quite sure it's going to happen. It's certainly a possibility, but my hopes for the dream have definitely fallen a bit smaller.
You can see Yoshi thinking about it. And this is kind of the consideration you have to make here is, do you kind of maybe make suboptimal plays that could lead to you winning the whole match on this turn, or do you play it a little bit safe and give up that possibility for a higher chance of winning the match later?
Yeah, I think he's going to play the Juniper at the end of all this. He has the option to play a Shaman down just to draw 1 card, it looks like. Seismitoad. And then now it's do you play the replacement Toad, or do you just dump it all with Juniper and hope that you just hit it all?
I think you keep the dream alive in Juniper, which is, I think, what Yoshi's thinking as well.
I've seen how gross this matchup can get. He knows a Vespiquen could tear him apart. Let's see. Jirachi, that's not it. That's not it. Uh-oh, running out of dreams. That could be. Oh, I don't know. I think he's going to be 1 card short because he still doesn't have the energy. Oh, he's got it, but he doesn't have the switching card. That's the only thing he's missing.
Yeah, he discarded a super scoop up earlier in the game. So it looks like the dream is dead, folks.
He has the Ultra Ball. You can probably see the gears turning in his head so close. But unfortunately has to concede and drop that down to the Giratina. Now, if you can get an early game Giratina running and shut off special energy, that can be huge. And that's definitely what he's rolling for here. But it is a shame. Didn't get to see his magic Latios on turn 1. It's in there for a reason. It's just unfortunate when that reason shows itself and you can't pull it off.
Absolutely. And it looks like we will get a knockout on this Combi next turn as long as there's no end tricks or anything, because I did see Yoshi had a double colorless in his hand. And so he's still, in a pretty good position. He has a Seismitoad active. He has the Giratina loaded up. He didn't play ridiculously. He didn't go through too much pain to try and get that Latios knockout.
No, yeah, there are maybe some things, like discarding a Seismitoad or maybe dropping an additional Shaman for 1 card that maybe you wouldn't do otherwise. But, it wasn't the worst overextension we've already seen. He didn't need to draw cards anyways.
Absolutely. We see Jimmy getting a silver bangle before the Quaking Punch Lock comes online, which is nice, and a Battle Compressor.
And as many item cards as he can play, as we saw last time, that helps him set up. If he can play them before Quaking Punch Lock, he can at least get Vespiquen ready to go, or when the Vespiquen do finally find their way into Jimmy's hand, he at least has a few Pokemon in the discard pile. Now, I guess the question is, if you're Yehoshua here, do you want to do a Quaking Punch only to maybe just get knocked out by Vespiquen on the next turn? Do you sort of give up that battle and try and go straight Giratina here? What do you think's the play?
I'm not sure. I think, the part of me that just knows how Seismitoad works just wants to say, go ahead, go in with Quaking Punch, hope that he can't knock you out. But you're right, that's definitely, it's definitely possible that you just lose to a Vespiquen here, especially with Jimmy playing out all these items. He plays a computer search even there, so it's definitely a tough decision to make. It'll depend on the rest of his hand, and it'll depend if he thinks he can stream them. If he has another Seismitoad waiting in the wings maybe to keep up next turn.
And in the meantime, we're seeing plenty of card draw over on Jimmy's side. Big Shaman. He's got a few farewell letters here for more Shaman. Basically, the more you can drop, the better. Another one down. He can easily concede this Combi in the active position, but if that one on the bench gets knocked out, that could be tricky.
He's actually going to go ahead and play Audino. Use the ability to heal the poison and the 1 damage counter, which will prevent the Quaking Punch knockout next turn unless something like a Muscle Band or a Hypnotizing Laser comes into play.
I think he has a replacement laser, but it's one of those things, you know, if you didn't have to play it, it's nice to be able to hold on to those lasers for another Pokemon. Now you'll be in an interesting spot. If he has something like a Lysander, I'm sure he would love to knock out that Combee that already has a double colorless energy on it, because all he needs to do is just do a laser and hit it. And is that another Battle Compressor I think we're seeing on Jimmy's side?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to go ahead and discard 3 more cards out of his deck.
And one of the major strengths, you can see the ridiculously long turns, because you can constantly search your whole deck, mill out cards at a time, 3 at a time, draw again with Shaman. Maybe you haven't even played your supporter yet. Play your supporter, draw more. It really does function on a level of consistency that's unmatched by many other decks.
Absolutely, and that's one of the advantages you have of all these cards, like Battle Compressor and just needing a stage 1 attacker that attacks for a double colorless. So definitely pretty consistent, and that's a pass. Yoshi draws a Vertbank City Gym for the turn.
Not bad to slap down. I don't think Jimmy runs any stadiums, so the second you get the first Verbank down, it sort of just sticks. And the question is, how does he want to proceed with this lock? Does he want to just start, do a Quaking Punch, and put some pressure on Jimmy? Does he want to try and get Giratina online and maybe just deny his opponent any ability to attach additional special energy? Right now, he's actually using Jirachi, going to search his deck for a supporter card.
Yeah, it looks like he's thumbing that Colress to the top of the deck. Probably going to go ahead and take that and draw 9 cards.
Yeah, still pretty good. Still somewhat respectable.
Right. It's not 10 or 16 or anything crazy, but
it's still amazing. Let's not kid ourselves here. If there was a supporter card that said shuffle your hand to your deck and draw 9, I would play 4 copies probably. It would be decent. So we do see he did have the backup Hypnotoxic Lasers, so he can at least get a knockout here. It's just not the most crucial one. It's just going to be on a Combee with no energy, no tool on it. And then he follows it up with a Colress, getting some new cards. I'm sure one thing he'd love to see is a way to retaliate. If he can find another double Dragon Energy, he can attach it to his Giratina and get a revenge knockout on this Combee if it becomes a Vespiquen. So he has to play 1 turn in advance. And it actually could play out really well for him if it works out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with the luck we've seen Jimmy have, he is unlikely to get that Vespiquen. But if he does, he'll go ahead, promote it, knock out that Seismitoad, and Yoshi will be forced to find a response.
So you see, oh boy, a whole new slew of cards. An interesting thing, and I guess something you can sort of make note of. Ooh, boy.
Enhanced Hammer.
He runs more than
That's
just
a big game.
For getting rid of those special energy. So we do see a lot of different ways. He's got Xerasic, Enhanced Hammer, Chaos Wheel on Giratina. When you combine all those things, you can easily run your opponent out of the 4 double colorless energy that they run.
Absolutely. You see Jimmy has a Vespiquen in his hand, but now he's forced to find a double colorless.
Oh, no, you can't do that. Yoshi's saving him. Nope. I did Quaking Punch. It's a pretty good attack. It means you cannot play that card. And so now Jimmy he's going to have to dig. It wouldn't be super unreasonable for him to find that double colorless. He's got the combination of Shamans. Oh, yep. And there's one.
There it is, right on top.
But I guess the question is, did Yoshi find himself that other double dragon energy? If so, this Giratina could really wreak havoc. I mean, what does Jimmy do? He's going to run out of the ability to play double colorless energy. He'll be stuck either attaching the basic fire or doing the blacksmith tricks.
Yeah, it's gonna depend a lot. We're also gonna need to see. We see Jimmy drops that Combee. He's gonna need to follow it up with a Vespiquen, and like you said, he's gonna be taking at least 1 turn off if this Giratina becomes active.
So once again, that grass typing on Vespiquen is huge. Be Revenge takes out Seismitoad EX in a single attack. So Jimmy takes 2 prize cards. Now it's all up. Yehoshua, what are you going to do? Looks like he's going all in on that Giratina Chaos Wheel strategy. And it's funny, 4 energy for 100 is normally not super exciting, but it does knock out basically everything that Jimmy runs in his deck outside of the Shamans, which is a pretty good counter. And he does have another double dragon energy to
do right off the top.
Double. Wow. Wow, is that right? I'm looking at his deck. Yeah, he only runs the 2 double dragon energy. Nice.
Sometimes you get there.
Could have been a double colorless as well, but why not? Just match them all up type-wise. And all of a sudden, the chaos is about to come.
A muscle band on that Drudagon. Would be nice if Yoshi can find a way to get out another attacker, find another Seismitoad. I know he discarded one earlier in the game, I believe, and he only runs 3.
Yeah, so he might only have one left. I think it's in his hand. I guess he's maybe debating if he wants to play it down, because if it gets pulled up to the active spot, that's an easy 2 prizes for Vespiquen if Jimmy can create one. Now, this is interesting. We're going to see sort of a change in the lock. Jimmy will be able to play his item cards, but he won't be able to play Pokemon Tool, Special Energy, or Stadium cards. The number one factor of those 3 is the Special Energy.
Absolutely. That double colorless is the only way to use Be Revenge. And so, like we said, after this Chaos Wheel hits, Jimmy is going to be taking at least 1 turn off, unless he can find a Blacksmith.
He does have 2 Fire Energy in the discard pile. I saw them clumped together, so he's going to try and find himself a Blacksmith or Versus Seeker and a Blacksmith. It's nice. It is your one little out to this type of disruption deck, but it isn't extremely consistent. You're locked into only using the Flareon for those attacks. You can't Blacksmith to your non-fires, but let's see. Got things like Muscle Bands that actually could even give him a knockout option on the Shaman if he wants it. Or he could also find something like a Rock Guard. He's got a couple of different options. It's funny. I wouldn't even believe if you told me that he runs a 3-3-2 Zubat, Golbat, Crobat line. I don't think we've seen a single one over this entire series.
Yeah, definitely not a standard amount, and also I've seen him in his hand. He has not played a single one of any of them.
So you can see, there's pros and cons to running this mishmash of everything. I don't even know really what to call it. It's just Yoshi's Seismitoad. And I mean, he does have what's important. That's the Giratina, Muscle Band, 2 for easy knockouts. The question is, does Jimmy have Blacksmith or does he not? And there we go.
Question's going to be answered really soon.
Chaos Wheel. So there's a knockout. Oh, interesting. Combee going up. Now, he couldn't attach any double colorless energy. Maybe he could just evolve in Free Retreat. Yeah, that seems to be the option. He has Flareons. Does he have Blacksmith? I actually don't know if I can see it. Now, we do see an interesting little change. He can now play his item cards, so he can level ball. Is his Jirachi prized? Has he played Jirachi? Jirachi could find him a Blacksmith.
Yeah, I can't remember if he's played it or not. He's looking through his deck pretty intently.
That's what I would want off that level ball.
Just going to go ahead and get an Eevee.
So he's setting up attackers. The question is, if he can't attack this turn, that's going to be a humongous bummer. It's Blacksmith or bust, and he's already looking like he's just going to go for a really big Juniper. Super gross. So he gets 7 cards. Look how deep he's gone into his deck. But if he can't attach energy, you can't win the game. You just don't have any other possible out around that. He has double colorless energy, too, just floating in his hand that he can't even play.
Just taunting him. It looks like he just passed the turn.
Oh, man, just succumbing to the chaos. Giratina has come in for the ultimate lock. Even though Jimmy can now play all of his items, it's almost at a point where it doesn't even matter, because now he can't play his energy. Now, I wasn't able to see if he was able to find himself a replacement on the... if he was able to find a Blacksmith, I guess that would be the dream. He has discarded a lot of Pokemon, so it's not out of the question that he could Blacksmith Flareon and get a one-hit knockout to knock out Giratina. And I'm sure Yoshi's going to be trying to disrupt Jimmy in any way, perhaps playing a card like an N.
Yeah, and the even rougher part is that we not only, could he not play double colorless, not only did he not find the Blacksmith, but we didn't see him attach a fire either, because, there's a world where he can attach a fire this turn and then the next turn and be able to revenge, but that's off the table as well.
Yeah, I've played this deck a lot, and it gets super tricky, because once you have 2 fire in the discard pile, you can't, manually attach 2. He only runs to 3, so it gets weird.
Oh,
it's like Blacksmith or bust. And we do see Versus Seeker, so you can play any variety of supporter that he's got. Opts to grab the AZ. Curious to see where he's going to go with that. Picking up the Jirachi, perhaps getting rid of an easy prize solution, or maybe giving him the option to play any supporter card in the future. And we see another Chaos Wheel for a prize. Jimmy's gone up active with the Flareon. Do we see the Blacksmith? Versus Seeker. This time we do.
All right, he found the Blacksmith, and there are 2 fire right there.
And that's all you need for the revenge. I'm not 100% sure on the count of how many Pokemon he has in his discard pile, but we're pretty late in the game. and another battle compressor. Is that just 4 cards left in his deck?
That's what it looks like.
Oh,
He's going
man.
to go ahead and get rid of 2 of them, adding another Pokemon to the discard pile.
Oh, man, he is playing with fire, literally. So going deep in, only 2 prize cards remain for Jimmy if he can win this. And now, Yehoshua did lose his Giratina. He can get a revenge knockout with Dredagon, but that would remove the lock that he had in place. He can no longer stop special energies. Jimmy can just attach a double colorless and win. The only thing I think Yoshi could really use here is something like an N. Dropping Jimmy down to 2 cards, then maybe he doesn't get any energy.
Pokemon Masters Division players.
I think Yoshi would love to see a Seismitoad EX along with a Muscle Band. Not sure how many Muscle Band he's already played, but that would, because of weakness, knock out the Flareon and bring him down to 2 prizes and maybe seal the game up, depending on what's in Jimmy's hand.
Yeah, the rough thing is he also probably has to play an N, because I think Jimmy, I think he has a double. I at least saw them earlier. If he has enough, oh, and there's the N. There it is. Okay, so that would be the dream, is double Seismitoad, Muscle Band, and knock out Flareon for weakness, and just hope that Jimmy doesn't find his energies.
Yeah, let's see. He has a pretty full hand, so I imagine he's going to play some other cards and thin out his deck a bit before playing the end. Maybe find one of those pieces, like find the Seismitoad and play it, so he doesn't have to find so many off the end. He is, after all, only getting 3 cards off of it.
Yeah, he's going to need to set up as much as possible. He does have a double that he can play from his hands. The question is, what's in his deck that he's going to search for Pokemon-wise? There is a Seismitoad in there. Actually opting to grab a Zubat. So perhaps looking for some bat damage. He still does have the N, which is going to be an incredibly strong play. I guess I just wonder, you know, he has energy. Is he even going to put them anywhere? Or is he just hoping to use this bat damage to sort of fight through the rest of the game? So he can drop 2 damage counters now here with Crobat. Put them on Shaman.
Yeah, and he can...
I think he's trying to create a world where he gets a knockout at the end of the game on the Shaman for his last 2 prize cards.
We need to see you at the stage, or you'll get enabled double
here comes
loss. Christopher Vanier or Austin and Austin
with
Zattel.
3 remaining prize cards, it's going to be sort of difficult, but he does have the Crobat, or he has the Golbat that can evolve into a Crobat next turn, and the Zubat, which can evolve into a Golbat next turn, adding a bunch of damage counters to the field.
Yeah, and he has the knockout on Flareon. If you can pull up and revenge with Dredagon. The question is there a follow-up there? Or can Jimmy just end the game? Now, he can find himself an energy, but it's not going to be a knockout on Dredagon for 2 prizes. He would need, oh boy, he already found a double. If he finds a double and a Lysander, that's the true 2-card, beautiful dream. I cannot see what the other card is, but he at least is able to fuel this next Flareon for an attack. So there we see 1 prize card. And now Yehoshua has just 2 remaining. He's definitely targeting Jimmy's Shaman EX on the bench. Jimmy did find the double off of just a 2-card N so that he can at least attack in retaliation. What's he going to do?
Promotes the
And
Flareon.
it's an N of his own.
Farewell letter. Are we going to see the Lysander?
A Ultra Ball. I think he's just short here on pieces. And he's wondering, should I play this N? He has 4 cards in hand. Yes, I'm going to. So now, Yehoshua is going back down to 2. Jimmy's going back down to 2, but Jimmy has the knockout on the field right now, knocking out Dredagon with Flareon. And the question is basically going to be, can Yehoshua knock out a Flareon, or can he knock out the Shaman and win the game? Otherwise, if Flareon's able to remain for another turn, game's going to be over.
It's going to be tough going down to only 2 cards, the 3rd after the draw step, but I'm not sure. There's a Lysander and a DCE.
Double. Those are pretty cards. I just don't know if they're pretty enough. I think you'd prefer to draw something that allows him to get a few more cards in hand. And let's see, here's the top deck. Ooh, a Crobat. That's interesting. There's a few counters. Now the question is, maybe he could Lysander that Shaman up off of the bench and just really hope that Jimmy has no way to retreat it, no way to attach and Sky Return, and he could possibly just leave it stranded there for the 2-prize knockout.
That's definitely an option. I didn't catch what was in Jimmy's hand, but he has played a lot of energy. I know he doesn't play that many switching effects. He plays the AZ only, I think.
Yeah.
Which he's already played, I believe. What
an exciting Game 3. We haven't really gotten to get to play a full 3 games here. you can be a little limited by that 50-minute time limit. But here we go. Lysander up on that benched Shaman. Probably a follow-up on the Crobat, right? Surprise bite, 3 counters, then maybe a skill dive for another 3. That's going to get close.
Yeah, we're going to see 3 damage counters, just as you said, on that Shaman EX.
Ooh, attaching on his own Shaman. It looks like time just might have been called. And so now he can actually retreat, do the same amount of damage as the 3 counters from the skill dive, but actually retreat, bounce up Shaman to his hand. He has lots of draw ready for the next turn. The game is essentially, does Jimmy have a way to retreat Shaman or not? So there's the 3. Does he have it? If he can, oh, did he just top deck the double?
That's the double.
I think he did.
Colorless
That's
energy.
all he needed.
And Jimmy O'Brien continues the streak, undefeated with this deck over 2 regional championships.
Wow.
Coming down to the very, very end. What an incredible match.
My goodness, yeah. I wasn't sure exactly what was in his hand. He seemed pretty excited.